Hi, and welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Martin Bailey, and joining me today is Bob Scott, from Chief Executive Officer from IntraOrbis. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Martin. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for taking the time out to join me. How are you today?
No, great, thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited about this. It's not something I've done before, and really looking forward to trying to contain myself in the time allowed.
There you go. You set me a challenge again, Bob. I love it. I love it. No, great challenge. So look, to start us off, why don't you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, my name's Bob Scott. I'm the CEO and founder of IntraOrbis Limited, which is the global investigations company. It operates in quite a niche market. We specialise in brand protection and investigations into associated frauds and intellectual property issues around counterfeiting and the like.
Wow, that sounds like an exciting and an interesting field to be in.
It is, every day is a great day. In fairness, Martin, it shocks me to say this now, 50 years involved in what I do, and I've loved almost every day of what I've done as an investigator. So it's a rare thing to say, and what I mean, and I take it as a joy and a privilege to have had that.
Yeah, you sound a bit like me here, Bob, because every day's a great day for me too. And it's not often you hear that people say that, do you? Every day's a great day.
No.
So, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, it's all right. You please carry on.
So what I want to do is I want you to rewind, get your head back to 20 years ago, when you started this business. What would you do differently?
That's a good question, because obviously I'd already done one career. I'd done a 30-year career in the police, and at 50, just come out to 50, I thought I was done. And actually what I wanted to do then was fill up some time until my wife came out, which would have been about 5 years. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. As it turned out, I knew that after a very short time that doing nothing wasn't an option. But also at that time, what happened was a pal of mine, and of course, good networking is at the heart of everything, as well as good teamwork is what I'm about, really encompasses all that I'm going to say today, is that he worked for a large pharmaceutical company as a brand protection manager. And he said, I didn't realize you were out. We could use your skills. So I thought, well, that's incredible, because I didn't think I had many. And he said, come and talk to me. So I went and spoke to him, and clearly what was then 20 years ago was lifestyle drugs were being counterfeited hugely. They were looking to investigate higher up in the illicit supply chain. My background as a specialist detective gave me the skills to be able to do that. So I took on the challenge, and we had some great successes in the early days as a self-employed consultant. But the best decision I made was that I didn't want to buy a job every day. For 30 years, I'd committed my whole life to law enforcement, which I loved, and it to the exclusion of almost everything else. I didn't want to do that again. Having said that, I failed miserably, because I have done exactly the same in the last 20 years. I dedicated my time to the business, along with my wife, who's the co-director, Pauline, who's got a much more sense of balance than I have. So I came at it at a time where I'd had no expectation. Looking back now, what would I do differently? I think I'd have been braver. I think I would have believed in myself and my skills a bit more than I did, although that probably for some people comes as a shock, because people think I'm ultra confident and bordering on arrogant, and probably it's true. But I was single-minded to follow my nose and follow my desire to build a small business. I think more ambition, perhaps, because had I had more ambition, then maybe I could have been more successful and grown a bigger team and a bigger business, but I don't know. So from that point of view, I'm not sure I'd have done much more different than I did, because it just grew with my desire, my commitment, my belief in what I was seeing open up in front of me.
And there's a couple of things in there what you just said. So do you where you are now? Are you still have you still bought a job, or have you managed to get away from buying a job?
No, I got away from that quite quickly, because as I said, I'd had a master-servant relationship with law enforcement for 30 years. And I had made a vow that I would not have that same master-servant relationship. Whatever I did I would be in charge of that. And of course, in the beginning I was buying a job, delivering and coming back and taking another one. But that was consuming all my time. So delegating, bringing in other people was the hardest thing to do, but the best decision I made. Made some mistakes, supporting the wrong people, but I believed in the power of the team because I've been in a team all my life, and selecting the right people, the challenge. You know, I made a lot of mistakes, but I think the main thing is you have to embrace, if you're going to put your head above the parapet, you're going to make mistakes. Embrace those mistakes, learn from them, move on. Don't dwell on them. I used to dwell on that in the early days. You know, people who didn't want our services. I took it quite personally.
Yeah, we get it.
As time goes by, that I take it a little less personally now.
Just a little less, yeah. It's interesting because you talked very much at the beginning there around your self-belief, and you know, you can outwardly be very confident, but you still get this little voice that talks at you permanently, and it's constantly telling you things that you can't do when really you can, but you're just kind of limiting your own beliefs.
Yeah, that's interesting, that voice on your shoulder, because there's one other side, one that's saying, sit back, enjoy the weather and do nothing. And the other one's saying, don't be lazy, get out there and do the best you can. And they're still there. They're still there. You know, I'm approaching 70. And the one that says, surely you should be kicking back is now sitting alongside my wife and saying, you should kick back, and the R word starts to come into focus again. But the one on the right has still got a very strong pull, and that is that, now, we're a solution provider. We solve puzzles, and I've solved puzzles all my working life, or tried to, along with the team. And that gets me out of bed still now. As very sad as it is to say, every day is a challenge that I enjoy. Now it's differently because I've got a team, and the team are empowered. We've got 2 managers, 10 full-time staff, 26 strategic partners worldwide. There's a lot to be thinking about in working on the business, not for it. So no, I don't work for it now. Well, that's not entirely true. Maybe occasionally, because you know, being on the tools is something where you come from.
You can't resist. It's written all over your face, Bob.
And of course, with all that depth of experience, why wouldn't you sometimes just dip back in and enjoy it, let it roll over you?
Yeah, just to show you still got it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Cool. So look, you've obviously got a team, and you talked about making some mistakes. So what's been what's your biggest learning been as an employer since you started the business?
The biggest learning was learn to trust people and delegate. Become a control freak, and now our managers will tell you that, you know, both my wife and I still very much want to know the ins and outs of what's going on, but not to the same level as we used to. As is quite a complex business, operating across the world, different currencies, different time zones, different clients, different requirements. So there's a high degree of risk involved, and both Pauline, my wife, and I accept that risk we have from the start. You know, I guess one of the things, I've been a risk taker probably most of my professional life. So trust the power of the team, trust your instinct, believe and have that belief in what you're doing. You know, be single-minded in your vision, because somebody needs to be in control and drive that vision. Never stand still, because if you stand still, you'll go backwards. All the things really that have been said. There's no magic to this. I think the magic comes from within. You know, you have to have that inner drive and that inner belief, and be prepared not to succeed. You know, I've never had the fear of failure. In fact, failure is not a word that I really much enjoy, because I think it's more about not succeeding to the level you want to succeed at, not fail. Fail is a different word.
I think it's interesting, you know, failure or not succeeding, it depends. You know, I look at that situation as being learning.
Yeah.
So you're learning for the next time to succeed.
Yeah.
So it's important. It's important. Yeah, you're right. It's very important how you position that in your own mind, and how you harness that and leverage it to your advantage. So in terms of your team, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Taking knockbacks and people let you down. You know, I'm not necessarily deliberately, but people do. You know, one of my mentors in the early days, way back in 2003, said to me, "I'll never be a businessman because people let me down. They don't do the job the way I want it done." And I took that and turned it around, because I thought, well, in the end, what he did is he continued to buy a job all his life, because if he didn't let go, he became that archetypal sole trader who made a lot of money but spent a lot of time delivering in a much smaller way than he probably could. But he was happy with that. So I would say to people that might listen that actually, do you know what? Be comfortable where you are too. You know, ambition is scalable, and there are lots of guys that I know that have unhappily, you know, been a sole trader, have got that work-life balance, and are happy with their lot. You know, my wife says I've replaced one obsession with another, and she's probably right. You know, I have got a bit of an obsessional personality in that way. I don't think I have. I just like, if you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah, which is not a bad mantra to have, not a bad mantra to have at all. So, but what you said about delegating, letting go, and trust. What challenges? Around team? What's your biggest challenge around team right now?
It is about we operate I like to say an open system of government in the office in our team. We've got a small team; it's much easier. So to empower people to have a voice, to let them have their say, to embrace their ideas, and allow them to share them. Of course, as the owner and guider of the business, you know, that makes it much more complex in terms of managing the ideas and the expectations of people. And that's the challenge in that way, and making sure that people feel valued and are being rewarded for what they do in the right way. And of course, again, you know, I came from an organisation that didn't deal in profit and loss, didn't deal in those sort of on costs and profits and all those sort of things that come with a business. So people is probably the greatest challenge. But when I go into my office, I go in only 3 days a week now, much to the manager's relief. I sit in my office and see each element in the front of operational and back office working together to solve puzzles and make things better. Not because I'm there, because they take ownership of the whole thing as being part of the organisation. It's breathtaking. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's taken a while to get there because we've had, you know, people that haven't bought into that vision, and you know, they make mistakes. We bring in the wrong people. It's a trial and error thing. But at the moment, he says, touching wood, we've got a very cohesive team that seem to be very happy with where they are and want to drive the business forward. And that makes my heart sing. It really does.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds like the team are starting to gel, but you're right in terms of managing expectations and having the right processes and the right systems and the right people metrics in place are huge in terms of making sure the team understand what's expected of them, how they're performing, and how they can actually grow their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, one of the smartest decisions we made was to go down the investors and people route, and now we've changed on to the ISO 9001. We are, as a small business, the auditor recently said that, you know, we have got an impressive process and procedures and people management organisation. Now, we've invested in people, but you're right, with people, you need to have processes. They need to understand that, you know, where we're going and how we get there. And you know, we last year we conducted 572 investigations in 58 countries and handled around 6,000 items of evidence into our warehouse. So you need to have absolutely brilliant processes and people to do so. Yeah, no, so you know, it is, we are probably, you know, massively ahead of the curve in terms of that, but we need to be, because VAT, customs, everybody's looking at us to make sure that we're doing everything within the law, and we have been investigated, which is sometimes quite sobering when they come along and go, no, we're not sure you're doing things the right way.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, okay, so good. I mean, you obviously got some tight processes there, which is great. So, look, what would you attribute your growth to, Bob?
I think that delighting our very first client.
Or delighting your first clients,
and making sure that we do, you know, making the best job we can. I think from there, networking, which I'm very poor at. I think that, you know, people buy from people, don't they? You can't sell to people. People want to buy what you've got. And in a market we're in, the sector we're in, which is a lot of solution providers, it does rely on those networks to produce new revenue streams, new clients. And you know, this is something I'm not brilliant at. I'm not brilliant at networking particularly, I'm trying harder to get better at it. But luckily, the people that I've known and the clients that we've had have been very pleased with what we deliver and have been very happy to recommend us to other similar organisations. Now, we operate probably in 8 or 9 different sectors. So it's tough. That's the most difficult part is making new contacts, building new relationships. You know, our relationships and our revenue streams rely on maturing relationships rather than a one-off. So there are no fixed contracts. It's all master servant agreement. It's heavily in favour of the client. There's a high risk, but you learn to live with that.
So Joe, a couple of last questions. So tell me about delighting your first client. Very interesting choice of words you used there. So what does the lighting look like? What does the lighting look like?
I can't claim provenance on that. There was something that I heard in one of my early mentoring schools I went to. And that really is, understanding their needs, what their business needs is, not saying to them, this is what I think you need. Really understanding what they need, delivering on it, but having a collaborative process with them. Where we are taking on investigations, which can be highly sensitive, can be intrusive, there could be some legal issues. You need to one, demonstrate you can deliver it in the way they want, and two, in the way they want. And I think, and there are many checkpoints along the way. So I think that delighting is they turn and say, do you know what, that was a really, really excellent piece of work, and repeating that. Not dropping your standards. And that's the challenge when you bring in more people is not dropping your standards. I think the other thing is being prepared to go, do you know what, we got it wrong. We'll put it right. Yeah. And getting that consistency. You're absolutely right, consistently delivering. So the final question for me today is, I mean, you mentioned the R word very covertly throughout your conversation. So what does the plan look like for that? Have you started thinking of building that plan yet? We've got a senior management team and an outside mentor of mine that comes in, and we meet monthly. Through COVID, we met fortnightly, and we have an exit strategy, and there are 5 strands to that. Carry on as we are until I fall off my perch, set a date, close the door and walk away, which the business is too good to do. Look at what selling looks like, or bring other people in that might want to carry on and increase the legacy of what was effectively my baby in 2003. We're exploring all of those still, because I've said at 55 I might stop, at 60 I might stop, at 65 I might stop, and I'm 70 on Christmas Day this year, and I keep saying I might stop. So it's a moving feast still. But I think exit strategies are very important, because I think probably looking back, if I'd have started earlier with an exit strategy, selling the business at a particular point might have been a good option then. It might still be a good option now. But having that clear exit strategy, whether you have one or more, I think is vital.
I mean, you're absolutely vital. At what point should it be vital?
Yeah, well, of course, I'm the wrong person to ask that. I asked my wife, and she said she'll probably tell you 10 years ago. Yeah. But whilst I'm in good health, and whilst I'm enthusiastic, whilst I think I can contribute, why not? Absolutely. I think it's an individual question. For some people love their golf and they've got lots of hobbies. I'm a very sad character.
I'm sure you're not, Bob. I'm sure you're not. But look, great honest answer. Thank you very much. And I hope you don't mind me asking that question, because it's quite important. I mean, for other business owners to know, you've got to be working towards some sort of exit strategy at some point, because you do. It's going to end at some point, and if you don't, it's going to creep on you and catch you from behind. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there are a lot of other variables there. So it is an individual choice. But we did start our exit strategy planning, at 60 and then towards 65, because that was when you could draw your old age pension. I say that, it's shocking, isn't it? But you get to 50. I thought I was done. I was tired and worn out. And then I got to 55 and thought, no, I'm having too much fun. I got to 60 and thought, no, this is still too much fun, and the business is growing quite nicely. Let's just go a bit further. Yeah. 70 going, you know what? I think I can push it a bit further. Good on you. Well, look, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you today, Bob. And look, you've got a fantastic business there, clearly growing and doing really well. And there's a load of learning in this chat for loads of people. So thank you very much for giving up your time. and your knowledge to take part in this. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
It's been brilliant. And look, have a great day.
Thank you, Martin.